Howdy, howdy. Welcome to Mo's World, the baseball podcast. Yes, it's another baseball podcast where we talk about baseball like a few friends sitting at the bar. We value your input and would love to hear your comments. Tell your friends about the podcast if you enjoy listening. This is our 12th episode on Mo's World, the baseball podcast. For all our returning listeners, I want to thank you for your patience and interest in the podcast. For any new listeners, thanks for stopping by. We hope you enjoy the show. Okay, this week on episode 12, it's time to talk about some new baseball stats. I know. You know everything there is about average, runs scored, E.R.A, on-base percentage, but do you know xwOBA, LA, EV, K%, BB%, and more? They don't roll off your tongue. So if you're old like me, you might go to a game and look up at the scoreboard and see Aaron Judge is leading the league in xwOBA at 477. Huh? Stick around. Let's talk new baseball stats. So, you ever sit at home talking baseball with your son or daughter, or better yet, maybe at the bar with your work colleagues, and they say about a player, "Are you kidding? His ISO sucks, and especially his WRC." All you can reply is, "Exactly." Well, I'm here to help you out today. One thing to remember before we get started. Statistics and analytics are not the same thing. Statistics are measurable. They are objective. If a batter reaches base 4 times in 10 appearances, his on-base percentage is 400. That's a stat. It's a fact. It's measurable. But it is not an analytic. Analytics are how we apply the statistics. For example, saying that player A is better than player B because his on-base percentage is higher, that's an implication based on statistics. An analytic take, if you will, but on-base percentage is not an analytic by itself. Make sense? I know, it can be a little confusing. All right, here goes nothing. Remember, I am not an analytics expert, but I'll do my best to relay the way I understand the stats in layman's terms as helpful as possible. So I'm not going to touch into all of them. This is the perfect time to visit our YouTube site as we do a little more graphical kind of user site, where you can see what I'm talking about without me bullshitting too much about stats, alrighty? And I think that's what we're going to do. We're just going to touch on the stats, and if you go view the YouTube site in your leisure, take a look at it, see what it means, see how it relates to your understanding. But we've got WRC plus. Have you heard that one? That's weighted runs created plus. That's kind of, it's a lot to it, but it's kind of cool because weighted runs created plus is a statistic that measures a player's overall offensive contribution. It's done by estimating how many runs they create for their team. So it also takes into account various factors that can influence a player's performance, such as the ballpark, where they play, and even the era in which they're playing. So that's actually a pretty cool one. So that's called WRC plus, weighted runs created plus. All right. So it allows teams and analysts to compare hitters a little bit more accurately across different contexts, and I think this one is used pretty often in free agencies and player development. So scope that one out. Another one that's kind of popular is BABIP. Now, I've touched on this one in previous episodes a little bit. I kind of like this one. This is batting average on balls in play. It's kind of interesting to me that, it can be super useful when trying to get a gauge on how successful a player may or may not be in the future. We also talked about this a little bit in the previous episode. Jermaine Mercedes was the perfect example in 2021. He was lighting the world on fire early, but was running a BABIP over 400. And remember, that's balls in play. Everything that he hit in play, he was batting over 400. So that's basically what BABIP is. It tells you what a hitter's batting average is when the ball is in the field of play. It excludes home runs and strikeouts. It tries to boil down how often a hitter gets a hit when the fielders have a chance to make it out. In other words, if Whit Merrifield goes 3 for 12 in a series with 1 strikeout and 1 home run, his batting average would be 250. But his batting average on balls in play would be 300. That's 3 for 10, since we're excluding the home run and the K. So that's kind of interesting. You can see a little bit more about contact on that one. Look that one up. That's definitely a player. Now we've got defensive runs saved, DRS. I like this one too. It shows you a little bit about the player as far as defensive kind of stats. Now, DRS, defensive runs saved, quantifies a player's entire defensive performance by attempting to measure how many runs a defender saved. It takes into account errors, range, outfield arm, and double playability. It also is slightly different from another stat called ultimate zone rating. And that formula, the concept is similar, but it's a little different. But defensive runs saved, DRS. Scope that out. Now, here's one you probably, even if you don't know these new stats, you may have recognized this one. This one's been around for quite a while now. And it's being proved that it's not the all stat, like it was first proved to be. Wins above replacement, WAR. All right, so this might be the most well-known stat, yet many don't get it. WAR measures a player's value in all parts of the game by figuring out how many more wins he's worth than a replacement level player at his position. For example, if a shortstop and first baseman offer the same overall production on offense, defense, and the base paths, the shortstop will have a better WAR because his position sees a lower level of production from replacement level players. So this stat seems to be a good indicator of a player's full potential. That's WAR, wins above replacement. Now here's another popular one that we've talked about. I like this one. This is OPS plus, on base plus slugging. So, speaking of OPS, a hitter's on base plus slugging is quite literally just that. It's the sum of a hitter's on base percentage and their slugging percentage. So this one's pretty clear cut. You don't have to figure this one out. There's no magic formulas. It accounts for external factors like ballparks and then adjusts to a score of 100 as league average. And 150 is 50% better than the league average. So it's good for quick comparisons, but, like all these things, by no means is it perfect, nor should it be taken as perfect. So here's the one that really flows off your tongue, though. xwOBA. Expected weighted on base average. Okay, so here's the thing. I like WOBA a good bit. It's a useful tool for analytically minded people, but I really don't know how much I think the average baseball fan should care about it. I do think that using xwOBA can be a useful tool for fans when you compare it to a player's WOBA. So here's a confusing way to put it. What should player A's WOBA be if he was getting about league average luck? Something like that. I almost didn't throw xwOBA into the article. Oh, you know what? This is just too fucking confusing. Look it up. I tried, guys. I mean, between LA launch angle, okay, you can figure that one out, right? EV exit velocity, you can figure that one out too. Most of these stats are fucking stupid, I think. That's the truth. I mean, the ISO, isolated slugging, range factor, adjusted earned run average, E.R.A plus, strikeout to walk ratio, that's a decent one. Barrels per BBE, that's the angle of the hit. And ballpark factor is not that bad. That really just gives you an overall know-how of what parks are more of an offensive park. Like, obviously, Coors Field has got a 118 rating. Great American Ballpark of the Reds, 115.3. Going down the line like that's kind of helpful, but it's not like it's, wow, I didn't know that Coors Field was the best hitting park. So some of these stats, I don't know. I thought I could do this, but I'm going to be honest with you. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't sit here and tell you if you take 3 at-bats and it's also divided. I can't do it. So I'm sorry. I can't talk stats and how they work anymore. The graphical version of today's episode is really the perfect take, and just read and check them out yourselves. I wanted to talk about something that's really in the news of baseball this week, and the attraction to a great duo in the lineup. Now, we've had this year with the Soto and Judge show has been just awesome to watch. It made me think, what are some of the other teams that had awesome duos in the lineup that was able to carry the team? As always, I'm only going back about 60 years of baseball. I've been asked why I do this. And the basic answer is the game is so changed from the 70s version even. But I'll add the 60s and because of the great amount of teams and players that were around. And I really don't want to go back any further than 60 years to take a look at stuff. So let's take a look at some of the best duos, starting with the ones we have today. Now, if you've been living under a rock this year, you've noticed that the Kansas City Royals seem to be stepping up. And there's 2 guys that have been killing it this year. And they are one of the reasons the Royals are 1 game out of first. Lately, they have been so clutch, you can't ignore the season they have had. I would say that I'm talking about Vinny Pasquantino and Bobby Witt Jr. Now, between the 2 of them right now, Bobby Witt Jr. is having a year of an MVP. If it wasn't for Aaron Judge, I think that he would have more of a chance of getting the MVP. But I don't really think it's going to happen. Even though he's batting .347, and there's nobody in freaking baseball that's over .340. I mean, Jesus, there's only 3 guys with a .300 average in the National League, So he's hitting .347. He's got 27 homers. He's already got 113 runs, 94 RBIs, 27 steals, sitting in there in the middle of the lineup with a .399 on-base percentage. And he's got a 1,014 OPS and a 177 OPS plus. Now, Vinny Pasquantino is not a name that you would really even think about. And he's having a great year, though. And he's really working off Bobby Witt Jr. They're like a tag team. Between the 2 of them, they're really producing. He's got 18 home runs this year. He's got a .261 average. He's got 96 RBIs. He's actually got more RBIs than Bobby Witt Jr. And, his OPS, he's not a superstar, Vinny Pasquantino, but he's having a great year on that lineup. That lineup is clicking this year. So that's one of the top lineups of this year. And you say, well, okay, what about some of the ones from the past? So I tried to think about a couple of, topics on that one. And I thought of these. Now, if you think of any others, let me know. St. Louis Cardinals of about the 2000 era, Jim Edmonds and Albert Pujols. Those are two names. The Cardinals had a duo when Albert Pujols joined them in 2001. That was his first year. Hitting alongside Jim Edmonds, the Cards rode those two to power their lineup for years. I think we tend to forget how dominant this pair was. Jim Edmonds in 2000 was 42 homers, 108 RBIs. 2001, he was 3110, 2883, 3989. And 2004, he had 42 homers and 111 RBIs. He really produced, and he was basically a 300 hitter. He had 295, 304, 311, 275, 301 through the years. Then Albert Pujols joins the Cardinals in 2001. We all know that he was insane. 37, 130, 34, 127, 43, 124, 46, 123. So from 2000 to 2004, these guys really made a nice pair, and they were a dominant source of offense with the Cardinals. Another couple that I thought of about the same time frame as well. Now, I know what you're thinking too. Yeah, these guys are all on roids, and you might be right, so, but we'll touch on it. It's still a great thing to think about, teammates were always playing off of each other. And the Boston Red Sox from 2000 to 2004, any guesses? David Ortiz and Manny Ramirez. What a tag team that was. Holy shit. Now, Manny Ramirez actually was a modern-day RBI machine. I mean, in 1998, he had 45 homers, 145 RBIs. He follows that up in 1999 with 44 homers and 165 RBIs. Holy cow, that's a lot. I know he's busted for steroids, but these pair made a two that tormented the opposition into trying to pitch around him. I know it's off topic, but let me remind you. I mean, Manny Ramirez, he also got, I don't know how you can have a season of 44 home runs, 165 RBIs, bat 333, have 131 runs score, lead the league in slugging at 663, and OPS at 1105, and not win the MVP. I mean, it was total bullshit. That's exactly what happened in 1999. Manny Ramirez losing to Pudge Rodriguez. Check it out if you can one day. But those two, I mean, they had, David Ortiz was, he had 31, 101, 41, 139, 47, 148, 54, 137, and 35, 117. And Manny Ramirez matched him with 37, 104, 43, 130, 45, 144, 35, 102. And then he was hurt a little bit, and he still produced 2088 in 2007. So that was a great combo that the Red Sox had, and I'm sure their fans enjoyed those two. They were a colorful couple, right? Now, the Houston Astros, once again, same time period, right? We've got Jeff Bagwell and Richard Hidalgo. Now, I'm sure you probably know who Jeff Bagwell is. Bagwell had a nice career with the Astros, Hall of Famer. And, he produced from 97 to 2003, steady stats like 43, 135, 34, 111, 42, 126, 47, 132. He was a home run RBI machine. He scored a ton of runs, leading the league with 143, 152, so his OPS plus was off the charts as well. But there was one year in Houston, 2000, where he was joined by Richard Hidalgo, who at that point was just 25 years old, and he never really put things together. He didn't play over 100 games, a little over 100, I think, the previous year in his age 24 season. And the following year, he got injured a little bit, but his stats were nothing like 2000. But in 2000, he hooked up with Jeff Bagwell and went 44 home runs, 122 RBIs. He hit 314. He scored 118 runs. They were a combo. Oof, they were pretty dynamic. 1-2 punch there in the National League. Unfortunately, it didn't last long. Now, who's the one that we all compare everything to? Now, 1960 to 1962, a team called the New York Yankees had these two guys, Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle. I think the Yankees, they were called the M&M Boys. And in 60 to 62, they really shined together as they supported each other in the lineup. This duo was probably the first bangers of the 60s and future years, and they're still compared to today because of the excitement that they produce. But there's no doubt, I'm continuously saying this, it's a different game, So let's take a look at some of the big news coming up this year. Now, going back quick, so Roger Maris, he had 3 years of 39, 112, then a whopping 61, 141, and 61, and then 33, 100. Mickey Mantle had 40, 94, and in 1961, 54, 128, and then he had a 30, 89, and he led in everything at that point. He was leading in on-base percentage, slugging, OPS plus, and he was about 30 years old at that time in 62. So they really enjoyed those 3 years. They really ate it up. It's a shame because it was right around then that, Mickey Mantle was really on the tail end of his career, even at 63. I mean, he really hung around. In 62, he was only 30 years old, and he only played 123 games. And, it's looking back at Mickey Mantle, he still is a what if. You just look at him, and that's all you say is what if. That's why the what if now is with the Yankees and Juan Soto and Aaron Judge. What if they sign him? Is this going to be more than a 1-year show? Because the combination of these two this year is truly unreal. Soto is having his best season, and Judge is on pace to have his best season. They are carrying the Yankees offense. I mean, really, they are carrying this offense. And it's been some show. Of course, we've had many teams with big duos impacting their team, but these players stand out to me. But who am I missing? Let me know your favorite hitting duo that you remember. And, right now, the Aaron Judge Juan Soto show, it could produce another year where Judge beats his record home runs. He's at 51 home runs now with 122 RBIs. And Soto's at 37 home runs, 296 average with 95 RBIs. Judge's slugging percentages through the roof. I mean, Juan Soto has got a 600 slugging percentage, and Aaron Judge is 132 above him at 732. Leading the league at 1,200 OPS, and his OPS plus is 229, Judge's. And Juan Soto's is 184. So these guys are definitely insane this year. And, as a Yankee fan, I am a Yankee fan, it makes you wonder if we'll have more of this duo in future years. So, the idea of new stats was something I've been avoiding and still avoided, but I've been getting questions, and I had to put a few of them out there for you. I can totally understand some of the stats don't exactly roll off your tongue. The duo topic was something I had to add since it's so hot lately. That's a wrap on today's episode. I hope you enjoyed our 12th episode, New Baseball Stats and Baseball Duos on Mo's World, the Baseball Podcast. Join us weekly as new episodes are released Friday for about a 20-minute broadcast. Thanks again for listening, and please tell your friends about us. Next week's episode will be a great topic to challenge your friends. The best bar facts. So, whose world is it? It's Mo's World.